Welcome to Democracy-ish. I'm Danielle Moody.
And I'm Wajahat Ali. And of course, you have the children of immigrants working on Labor Day.
This is all Waj's idea, okay? I continue to tell the man to take time off. He refuses to take time off. He refuses to take a break. I don't know what kind of award he's going for, dear friends, but he can't stop himself. So we're here. And Waj, we're here, and let's pray that everyone can see us on every place that we're streaming. Nope. What does it say, Waj? We're having trouble streaming to your destination. Look at your Substack.
Yeah, mine's not streaming, but how about yours? Is yours?
Unclear. I'm going to look, and then we're going to try this again.
It's all right.
It's not.
Well, I could send you I sent you my stream stuff, and you could check it out, and then you could input it while I'm on one of my rants and vice versa.
Okay.
I can send it to you via Gmail.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, you dive in, go up with the first slide while I try to update everything. Hi,
As
everyone.
you can clearly see, folks, this is what happens with independent media when you don't have a tech expert and you just have me and Danielle looking at each other and saying, huh? What?
Exactly.
Huh? We're trying to stream to all of our Substacks and YouTube and Twitter. So if you could see us on the Twitters and the and the YouTube, let us know. I think you can. If not, okay, YouTube is good. Thank you, Wisdom. All good. So, folks, today we are going to discuss something that I think should be more mainstream, and I hope, inshallah, becomes a little bit more pronounced and vocal. The 25th Amendment. Now, what is the 25th Amendment? And let me read it for those who don't know. The Cliff Notes is the 25th Amendment, in simple terms, clarifies presidential succession by outlining what happens if the president dies, resigns, or is unable to perform their duties, right? Then the vice president becomes president, right? But it pretty much, it's the Congress saying, we don't have faith in this president to fulfill his duties, and now it is time for him to step down, or if you will, be replaced. Now, obviously, Danielle and I know that J.D. Vance is terrible. We get it. And we obviously know that you're not going to get 2/3 of Congress to invoke the 25th Amendment because MAGA reeks. However, just because you knew that Donald Trump will not be removed, that didn't mean you still shouldn't, have impeached him. For trying to strong arm President Zelensky, right, and threaten an ally, or inciting a violent insurrection against our free and fair elections. And then later on, he then became president and, I don't know, pardoned 1,600 of those individuals. And now those 1,600 individuals, some of them are looking for compensation from the United States government. And one of them, Ashley Babbitt, is seen as a martyr, and her family got $5 million in a wrongful death suit, and in a gold-plated coffin she rests because now she's a hero. Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me for my rant. So there's multiple reasons why, and we're going to make the case on today's show on Labor Day, why Donald Trump should take a rest, a long, permanent rest. He should not be laboring anymore as a president of the United States. In fact, we're going to make the case. Has he ever
labeled as a president of the United States?
Yeah, well, if he wants to go and meet his creator, he can go meet his creator as well. Danielle and I are perfectly fine with that as well. And speaking of which, it is pretty clear, folks, and this is just based on the evidence of our eyes and what we have heard and what we have seen, that this man is clearly unwell. I want to remind everyone, he is the oldest person to ever be elected president. He's now 79 years old, Danielle. He has swollen cankles. The White House press, couldn't BS it because of the photos. The swollen blotch on his hand that they try to cover with makeup cannot be covered up. He was not seen Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then on Friday night, after Danielle and I had a democracy-ish all throughout Friday night, everyone thought he was dead because there was nothing scheduled for the weekend. I'm not making this up. That was a trending story. Like, is he dead? Give us proof of life. And so, folks, first and foremost, in our argument for the 25th Amendment, I believe he is not well and something is wrong with his health, and that alone should trigger national concern. Danielle.
So, I mean, here's the fact of the matter. I knew that my weekend wasn't going to turn into Christmas with the kind of announcement that we were all waiting for. Where is Donald Trump? The fact is that the man is unwell. And, and Lev, who you interview often, Waj, on your Substack, Left Hook. So here is according to Raw Story. Ex-Trump associate Lev Parnas on Sunday reported on some of the devastation going on in Ukraine at the hands of Russia. He then delved into the president's health. And where is Trump? Absent, silent. He has not appeared publicly in more than 3 days. Social media is ablaze with rumors that he is dead. He wrote, "My sources tell me he is not, but what I am hearing is even more alarming. Donald Trump's health is deteriorating. His condition is being kept very close, whispered about only among the tightest circle." Raw Story goes on. According to Parnas, the reality is something is wrong, very wrong. And while America is kept in the dark, while his inner circle hides it, dictators overseas are already calculating their next moves in a world without him. We went on to talk about the dangers of reporting on Trump's condition. So here's what he said. This is Lev Parnas. This is Raw Story. "I tell you these things not lightly, but at great risk. I risk a lot by bringing you this information, and so do my sources, because these are not ordinary men. These are the most powerful men in the world, and they don't play by the rules. They don't want you to hear what I'm telling you now. But I know how they operate. I know the games they play. Remember, I was Trump's right hand, the one he sent to carry out his shadow diplomacy in Eastern Europe to put pressure on Zelensky to deliver his threats. I sat in the rooms. I watched their deals unfold in the shadows, and that's why I know exactly what it means when Putin plays Godfather, when Xi nods along, when Modi and Kim break tradition to show up at the same table. And I know better than most what it means when Trump is left behind," Parnas wrote. "No matter the risk, I will not stay silent. They will not silence me. Silence is not an option. Not now, not ever. If we don't act now, if we don't speak louder than ever before, there may not be a free world left to fight for. This isn't just about saving American democracy. This is about saving the idea of freedom itself." So that is Lev Parnas, somebody that you talk to often, Waj, who is very clearly saying that there is something wrong with Donald Trump, something very wrong with Donald Trump, that the powerful men in the world that he listed out are making moves about what they will do next if, in fact, Donald Trump is no longer their puppet, is no longer present and president. What do you make of the comments that Lev has said here? And the murmurings that were happening all weekend long. And then I'll play for you all Maxine Waters.
So, I've had Lev on several times, and Lev does have his sources. And then sometimes you might sit there and think, maybe he's just BSing. But about 3 or 4 times when I've had Lev on and he says, watch this space. Look, this is the plan that they're, going to implement. He's been, at least on my show, like 3 out of 3. Is exactly what happens, right? And so when he speculates, but when he says, I have a source saying this, after talking to him for the past couple of months, Danielle, his sources are very good. When he says it's my source, it's someone inside MAGA, because Lev went to jail. Lev was Donald Trump's right-hand man. Lev was a true believer. I asked Lev, did you really believe this shit? He goes, man, I was in it. I thought this guy would be the savior. I did everything I could. I was a loyal soldier. So Lev saying this, and Lev and I have talked about this a little bit. I believe him. And again, I want everyone to trust the evidence of their eyes and of their ears. Just look at him. He does. Look, we don't want to be disrespectful to those who are elders, unless if it's Trump, then be disrespect away. And Mitch McConnell, I don't give a shit. And also Senator Kennedy, Foghorn Leghorn, and others.
The list kind of runs on. So
yeah. So but when you get older, these things happen. And I used to live with my grandmother until she passed away. She had the same conditions. And she was mentally and spiritually healthy. She was a much better person than Donald Trump. But physically, you see the toll. And you also see what happens, especially when you reach that age. Once there's one mishap, Danielle, it escalates very quickly. right? Like you fall down once in your 70s and 80s, you break your hip, you have like less than 5 years to live. All right. So we saw with Joe Biden, and oh, the irony of Joe Biden. We saw with Joe Biden last March to last October. You saw him deteriorate physically, right? He's still much healthier than Donald Trump, but you saw it. And the irony would be, what are this? I mean, I did this tweet yesterday. I just looked at it, went viral. Oh, the irony, Daniel. If Joe Biden outlives Donald Trump, and the question I had was, what would corporate media do with itself if Joe Biden lives longer than Donald Trump? If Joe Biden is there eating an ice cream at Donald Trump's funeral, what will Jake Tapper do?
Nothing. You know, that's the thing. They have no ability to have self-reflection, right? It's not as if they're looking at the coverage that they've been doing, because again, the way that the media speculated, tore down, investigated every single fucking hair on Joe Biden's face, like did UV rays on the fucking cars that he was in to say whether or not he had a new wrinkle, like the obsessive nature around Biden's age. And you have, if Biden went missing for 3 and 4 fucking days, do you think that the media would just take old pictures and video that is being put out and said, oh, he's fine, he's golfing today? Like, the fact is whether or not folks are, making jokes about Weekend at Bernie's and this, that, and the other thing, the fact is understanding that the president is well is not just like some gossip mill shit. Like, we actually need to know if the leader of the country is functioning mentally and physically for our national fucking security. So the fact that his team has been playing like games with the old videos, like, why would you put those out? Because you're just fueling the speculation that something is wrong. If you're putting out old videos, you might as well just put nothing out and be like, the president is taking the weekend off, even though that would be on some bullshit. But you just say that and let it rock. They don't, because one, they can't stop themselves from the compulsive lies that they tell, but two, because they think that they know best to cover up, but it's just making matters worse. It's the same shit. We got the Epstein files. They're sitting on my desk. I have all of these things. And then all of a sudden people are like, okay, so you have all this information. Show us. Donald Trump is well. Then I want to see him playing fucking golf on the golf course, not looking like, from a distance, that they just basically gave this man some fucking smelling salt and pushed him out of a car, because that's how he looks.
We got like the evidence. We'll show you all. You tell us if he looks healthy, folks, later on, because apparently, as to go off of Danielle, for those who haven't followed the news because you're normal people and you were like resting and enjoying your family, Friday night on social media, as it trended, right, is like, is he dead? Proof of life. And then all of a sudden, very quickly, the White House was like, look, all of a sudden he's going to golf on Saturday. Okay. And then see, proof of life, proof of golf. And they're like, wait, what are those photos? What? And there's no photos up close. There's no photos of him actually golfing. We're going to show you. There's a photo of him in the motorcade, and that's it. And then some of the photos that were spreading were old photos. Clearly old photos of him golfing, like a long time ago with a couple of friends from a couple of weeks ago. He hasn't actually golfed publicly in a couple of weeks. Again, his last appearance was Tuesday. That appearance went really bad. Why? Because he had that huge blotch on his right hand. Then they put garish makeup on it to try to make it look better and conceal it, and made it worse. And as Danielle and I discussed on that democracy-ish, we showed the video clip, he deliberately covered that right hand for the first time or hid it under the table. Now, speaking about being behind the table, cankles. He's been trying to hide his cankles, right? He hasn't been doing rallies. He loves rallies. Remember, he loved his rallies.
Yeah,
the rallies were like,
do no rallies because
he's not doing any more rallies. He loves golfing. Spent about 20% of this presidency golfing. Hasn't golfed. And then the president of the United States, the most important person on earth, as he's systematically destroying the post-World War II order and our economy, just disappears, folks. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, had nothing scheduled for the weekend. Bum rushed a type of golf event where we saw him only in the motorcade, and apparently he's perfectly fine. So I'm so happy that on Friday, another person who is older than Donald Trump, but much more fit, takes care of herself, is much more mentally sharp, is more woke, Maxine Waters came out and said what we were all thinking. This was a tweet, and then we have the video. Well, go ahead, Daniel.
Even though I know it may not happen, the cabinet that he's appointed, a bunch of his sycophants who probably won't do what I would recommend, it is time to call for Article 25 of the Constitution of the United States of America to determine his unfitness.
And this is what she's saying. She's saying, there's something wrong with this president. And she's like, and we need to determine whether or not he's actually able to do his job. Now, I don't know what doctor is going to determine that, being as how the doctors that he has, their medical license has expired. And they look at Donald Trump and they look at, I don't know, fucking
Adonis,
whatever, Mahones, and they're like, oh, they're the same weight and they're in the same shape. And you're like, I'm sorry, what?
Like, Dr. Ronnie Jackson. Oh, Doctor, I looked after him, and don't worry, after his assassination, folks, can I bring some old receipts?
Please.
After Donald Trump, an old man, survived an assassination attempt, you would think that the American people would release the hospital records. I don't know, internal damage, stress, trauma, concussion, anything, guess what? We still don't have those records. But Roddy Jackson says this man is Adonis. This man is Patrick Mahomes with the gut. Don't worry, this man could lead you to the Super Bowl. In fact, this man is more agile and more intelligent on the field than Patrick Mahomes. This man makes Sylvester Stallone from Rocky IV look like, I don't know, a chump. Don't believe the evidence of your eyes and your ears. This is the most powerful, most kind, most great, most muscled man on earth. All is well. Danielle, and that same narrative of BS took place over the weekend. Tell them what we're witnessing right now.
So this is the picture, I believe, post-smelling salts, where they shook the shit out of Donald Trump and said, get up, old man. You gotta get, and he's like,
he's like that kid from Scared Straight. He's sleeping.
Yeah, just like, burger crumbs falling down his face, French fries being shaken out of his shirt. And they say, you got to stand up. These are the pictures that they posted out. When have you ever seen this administration post pictures this far away of Donald Trump to show proof of fucking life? Like, when have you seen that? This is what they gave the American people. So I'm like, that's because you don't want to see him close up. Because you don't want to see that, like, his eyes, like he looks like he is vacant.
Like this.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, hopped up on medication and looking vacant as fuck. So, this didn't do anything to stop the rumors. So then they decided, let's do you one better. And they post this. They post this yesterday afternoon. Never felt better in my life.
Also, DC is a crime-free zone. President DJT. But notice he didn't say thank you for your attention to this matter.
Because he doesn't have attention to any matter right now. So I look, if you are so well, you're not. I just like Chris Webb said. Are you guys buying this? Because I'm not. His account has posted over a dozen times in the last hour. This was yesterday. Someone is overcompensating for him. What are they hiding? I believe he's alive, but we deserve proof of health, not just a grainy photo of a man looking like a stroke victim trying to walk out of the White House. And then just zoom in, folks. Zoom in on these two photos, right? On the left-hand side, you have Joe Biden and his granddaughter, right? Looking healthy, agile, alert. On the right, I don't know what the fuck that is.
It looks an orange splosh. It's like amoebic skin. It's like Clayface with eyeballs. He just does not look right, folks. And let's just spend a moment on this, Danielle. I think it's important.
Please.
The utter failure and capitulation of corporate media and the political class. How when Danielle and I make the argument, and some people might think, oh, we're bitter, we're angry. You know, we keep hearing this. Oh, you black and brown people, stop whining, stop complaining. Oh, it's all hyperbole. We keep saying this country has affirmative action for white conservative men, affirmative action for white rage, right? You always have to whitewash it. You always have to make the playing field unequal to give them a leg up, right? We always have to like sit there and be like, oh yes, Jefferson Davis and Robert E. Lee were great heroes, even though they were racist traitors and slavers. Let's make them statues and Confederates. We refuse to say the R word because that hurts their feelings, right? Everything is tilted in order to placate the endless grievance of white conservative men. So much so that even in mainstream media, I'll give you one glaring example right in front of you. Abby Phillips's disastrous CNN show. Why does Abby Phillips do it? I don't know. She's far too smart for this. But Scott Jennings dominates that show. There are like 4 other panelists, Danielle. Scott Jennings sits there smug, smiling, realizes he can say and do anything he wants and nothing will happen. He can call Rashida Tlaib, no, he could call Ilhan Omar, Hamas's, what do you call her? Remember that? Hamas's press agent. No one corrected him. And then you know what happened? He got a raise. He talks more than anyone.
I'd sit there smug too if I was making as much money as
because he knows nothing will happen.
To be that fucking dumb, I would be sitting there smug too.
Because he knows nobody could touch him, right? I'll give you another example. And this goes to this photo right here. How many times, folks, you can't gaslight yourself. I want you really to sit with this. How many times did corporate media, how many times did the establishment talk about Joe Biden's health? As Danielle was saying, oh, he stuttered. He tripped. Oh my God! Look, he fell from on his bike. How many times have you seen Donald Trump bike? We called it out. He's an old man. I said it. I said clearly he is in decline compared to his time with Joe Biden. Obama. Clearly, but then Joe Biden had to prove on a daily basis for the final year of his presidency that he didn't have Alzheimer's, that he didn't have Parkinson's, that he didn't have dementia. They used to casually say this, just openly, without any proof, right? He did a 1-hour off the cuff, no notes, meet the press, Q&A conversation on NATO. Remember that, folks? And he did a good job. Has Donald Trump gone 15 minutes? Ask Donald Trump to do 10 minutes on NATO, right?
15
minutes? 5. I'll give you another example. At Pope Francis's funeral, Joe Biden was there. Donald Trump was there. Every world leader was there. There was only one person who fell asleep at Pope Francis's funeral. Can you tell him who it was, Danielle?
Oh, it was Donald Trump. Couldn't keep his eyes open. Also, he was wearing a blue suit because he's a fucking like disrespectful fool. I mean,
where's Jake Tapper's book? Where's Jake Tapper's Twitter? Jake Tapper still has a show on CNN. You would think he would devote every single day to asking about Donald Trump's health. Has anyone seen it in the comment section, folks?
No. I mean, look, it is the double standard of all double standards that Joe Biden had to do a tap dance backwards and forwards, like on a unicycle, taking a breathalyzer, having, everything investigated for him to convince the American people that he was okay. Donald Trump goes missing for days. They circulate old photos. He is clearly not in his right mind. He's on a roof one day holding a presser. He's fallen asleep in his cabinet meeting. He's a mess. And his hand is looks worse by the day, and the cankles and all of these things. Donald Trump is not well. We have not had a truthful health report of Donald Trump, not in his first term and not in this one. And in this one, he looks wildly different than he did 4 years ago. He looks very different than he did a year ago. Now, folks in the chat are talking about, well, JD Vance is going to be worse and blah, blah. Folks, I actually don't give a fuck. Okay, we're in a fascist regime, whether it's Donald Trump that is at the head, or it's Elon, or it's Elon Musk, or it's fucking JD Vance. But the fact of the matter is that like Donald Trump, the cult of personality, he is the one that has galvanized millions of people to follow him. Him being unalived, right, is a big fucking deal and would be a big deal regardless of if JD Vance is waiting in the wings, because MAGA doesn't like JD Vance. They don't trust JD Vance, and they know that he is a puppet. He is not a personality. So that all being said, we
Can
don't
I say
know.
also this, Danielle, real
Go
quick?
ahead.
Even though it's not going to happen, it's just good politics. It puts it out there in the mainstream narrative. The man is unwell. The man is unwell. The man is weak, right?
Correct.
If he's weak, MAGA's weak, Republicans are weak, especially as they are marching towards authoritarianism. And as we have said on this show, we've been saying it for a while, like for 2 weeks now, before it became mainstream, we said, I don't think he's well. And we've been saying this is why they put Project 2025 on steroids, and they're accelerating a 4-year plan into a 1-year plan. So it also helps throw sand in the gears of the dismantling that they're doing of our economy, of our healthcare, of our trade relations, of our immigration policy, right? It wakes the nation up, folks. And it's also a damn good story. What happens if the singular figure who has dominated international news and our consciousness, like the Freddy Krueger has haunted us for 10 years, might finally be going down?
Here's hoping. So moving on, because there is something that is absolutely for sure going down that we don't even have to speculate about, which is our entire economy. So the U.S. middle class, this is from the Wall Street Journal, generally considered to include households. And this is, I'm going to say this, Waj, and then follow it up with like, I don't understand how this could possibly even be considered middle class, but middle class is considered to be households making roughly $53,000 a year to $161,000 a year. How? In what part of America does that actually work? $53,000 a year for a household, folks. We're not talking about an individual. What are you talking about? How is that middle class? So, I mean, one, the numbers are wildly skewed when it comes to like understanding our caste system here in the United States. But what they are saying is that after months of tracking high income earners, increasing confidence about the economy, households making between 50 and 100,000 have made an abrupt about face in June. They now more closely resemble low income earners' gloomier views about the economy. Now, again, I find this really troubling that we're talking about middle income, not as an individual making six figures, but a household making six figures, or half of that being considered middle income. Because if you're a family of 4 living on 53,000 in New York City, I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss of where you actually live. Like
You're barely making it. I mean, you're barely surviving. I think
barely.
I mean, and that those numbers need to be revised because I remember 14 years ago when I was in the Bay Area as a single man, I was making less than that, clearly. And I went to go do my taxes, H&R Block. And the guy's like, oh, okay. So very rough year. He showed me the bracket and I was in poverty. I was in the poverty bracket, and I was like, "Wow, look at that!" Read about it in my book; you'll understand why. But that was me. I think I was making it. That year was just a really tough year. A lot of things was happening. I think I was at $30,000, Danielle, or $28,000 a year, and that was me as a single person in the Bay Area 13 years ago. So if you're a family of 4 in this economy, fast forward nearly 15 years later, and what's going to happen, Danielle? You're barely surviving. You are surviving. You're not thriving. You're not living. There's nothing middle about it.
There's nothing. So I'm like, so the audacity to call that middle class like makes absolutely no sense to me. On top of which, so Walmart, right, the largest employer, biggest box store, now is signaling where our economy is heading. Walmart is raising prices, right? They historically keep their prices incredibly low because of the areas that they are in. And they have said that they are raising prices because of tariffs. America's largest retailer, I see, largest employer and bellwether of the U.S. economy, definitely face some headwinds from tariffs. They're now putting out post-tariff inventory, and they're going to see price increases on a week, 2-week basis. So you could go in today to Walmart and then go with the same shopping list the following week, and your prices are going to be wildly different. Does that sound like a stable country to you?
And Danielle, this is the look. Listen, folks, we talked about it on this show. Walmart and these other corporations, in order to help Trump, in order to help their bottom line, were eating the costs for the past couple of months. They were eating it. Mm-hmm. But it came to a point, folks, and at the end of the day, they cannot eat the costs any longer. They will have to pass on the costs to the consumers. Mm-hmm. Because tariffs, Danielle, let's tell all the kids, even though you and me are not econ majors, I'm an English major, you were a teacher, tariffs are taxes that are passed on to the consumer. So if you're Walmart or, I don't know, a small business or, I don't know, a butcher, after a while, you're like, I need to be middle class in this country and make $53,000 a year for my family of 4. I cannot eat these higher costs. I have to translate it into higher prices. So even Walmart now has tried his best. But the fact that, look, it's bellwether, folks. You see certain things and you go, oh, that's not good. Especially as Danielle said, Walmart, it ain't just like mom and pop shop. It's like it's one of the largest employers in America. So, and loves them.
But I just want to say, side note, it's why they end up bankrupting the places, the small businesses of the towns and cities that they go into, because no one can compete with their low prices, right? Like, so now that Walmart and their low prices, what they're known for is basically saying to you, yeah, don't expect this moving forward. We have to raise the prices, which again, they could cut their CEO's pay. They could give the shareholders
silly
less,
goose. Daniel, why are you saying silly things on Labor Day?
The CEOs that make 600 times their lowest paid employee, they could do that. But then where would they put their 64th car at their 5th house? So that's just the thing to me, is that Walmart basically killed the mom and pop shops because of their pricing that they're able to do at the size that they are now saying to you, oops, we can't continue to eat these prices. Y'all gonna eat them now.
It's not low prices. It's lowish.
Maybe.
Lowish prices. It's inshallah low prices. And folks, the reason why, and again, we're not economists, but thankfully, Justin, I've had him on my show, fantastic economist, professor at Michigan, who really breaks things down at a clear level. And every time I have him on, people really appreciate it. Why the attack on the Central Bank of America, the Federal Reserve, is such a huge deal, and why Donald Trump's meddling with the federal bank in the form of, wait for it, trying to fire the black woman, the first black woman on the board, Lisa Cook, is such a big deal, is because, folks, you never, ever meddle with the central bank. Republicans don't. Democrats don't. Even Hitler didn't. Even Hitler was like, you know what? I'll be genocidal, but that's a step too far, right? Because it shakes up the economy, it shakes up consumer confidence, it shakes up world markets, especially when you have the world's most powerful and wealthy country, the United States, that does it, right? Because then the world goes, whoa. If you're messing up with the federal bank, right? I don't know. I don't know about my investments. I don't know about my stocks. What's happening, especially when this administration, that again, because the economy is doing so well, the Bureau of Labor Statistics just last month came out with what? Job data. And Republicans thought it would look really good. And those job numbers were no bueno. In fact, they were so no bueno that Donald Trump said, I don't like the job numbers. I'm gonna fire that woman, Dr. McCantrifer.
Because I don't like the statistician.
I don't like the numbers. So let me fire the qualified, competent commissioner, a doctor, and replace him with an unqualified white man who participated in the January 6th insurrection, and on a giant screen behind him has Hitler's favorite ship, What could go wrong? So tell him, Danielle, what happens around the world when a president interferes with the central bank and tries to force them to cut interest rates to save his sinking economic ship as a result of his terrible trade wars and tariff policies.
Well, take a look at the chart. Take a look at this lovely chart that shows what happened when Trump said that he announced his firing or trying to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook. Everything took a fucking nosedive. And what is written here is said, if Trump were operating in the best interests of America's businesses, his move to fire Lisa Cook would cause stocks to shrug or maybe rise. But they're saying this is dangerous. This move serves Trump, but not America. Our economy is at risk when the president undermines the Fed. And that is what happens. This was S&P futures last night. This is what happened, right? So folks, I every single sign, everywhere that we look, there are more examples to tell us.
We brought all the receipts today, folks. We told you we're going to make the case
that everything that Donald Trump has done, there's not a single thing that Donald Trump has touched that hasn't tanked, right? So now they are saying because of Donald Trump's increased tariffs on aluminum and steel, quote, right now the tariffs look like this is a negative for the robotics industry and manufacturing in general for the U.S. You think?
Remember, he was going to bring manufacturing back. Whoopsie. And speaking about the future in AI and robotics, which is what the billionaires want. Whoopsie. So robotics and manufacturing and when it comes to trust and faith in the economy and job data and folks, it's only been 7 months. Remember, he ran on the fact that he was going to lower prices. Vote for me and the prices will come down immediately. Prices of gas, high. Prices of milk, high. Price of grocery, high. Now, as we know, just using Walmart as one of the many examples, sorry, folks, tariffs, too much. We can't eat it anymore. Got to pass it down to the consumers. Higher prices. He literally ran on the promise that he will bring down the price of groceries. That was one of the main reasons why people being freaking self-destructive and living in the United States of amnesia said, yeah, let's give the presidency back to the guy who's been bankrupted more than 6 times and squandered his daddy's $400 million and hasn't paid taxes and is a criminal and, led us through a pandemic in which eventually more than 1 million people died. That guy, the art of the deal. We live in the dumbest country on earth, folks. And lo and behold, shock. I wasn't the biggest Hillary Clinton fan, but I'm like, all right, if it's Clinton versus Trump, I'll go with Clinton, qualified, competent woman. And this country said, a female, ovaries in the White House? That's disgusting. I'd rather punch myself in the face and be middle class with $53,000 a year. So that Hillary Clinton reminds us, I think this was just a tweet from yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Here's a growing list of countries choosing to pause mail deliveries to the U.S. because of Trump's stupid tariffs chaos. Did anyone vote in 2024 to become the new hermit kingdom? That's a good line. Japan, kind of important. Singapore, Spain, New Zealand, South Korea, Sweden, France. Oh, that ally. Australia, ally. Denmark used to be an ally. Austria, Germany. India. Oh, the world's largest democracy with more than 1 billion people. And then also speaking about tariffs and how it's now impacting people in the weirdest of ways, including yours truly. Oh, the pain, Danielle, the pain. Show them to the image. Oh, thanks to America's ever-shifting trade policies and Trump, Lego, the #1 toy manufacturer, has stopped shipping more than 2,500 pieces from its pick-a-brick program to both the U.S. and Canada. He even effed up Lego for America. And Danielle, I'll personalize it. What does this mean? So it was like Friday, right? I was like, I have a long weekend. You see these Lego sets I have here behind me for the kids. Once in a while.
You see how you said for the kids?
For the kids. Once in a while, the cat, right, gets up there. I have like 400 kids. So you miss like a couple of pieces here and there. And I don't know, it's my middle-aged hobby. It's either this or cocaine. So there was like a list. There was like a list of like 4 or 6 small pieces, right? And I wanted to be like completionist. And there's the 1989 Batmobile, and the cat like let this one piece go. I can't find it. So literally, before I saw this news, I'm like, it's the weekend. I have a little bit of time. Old man hobby. I'll just sit there on the Lego site, as sometimes do. Someone does, and they have you put the serial number of the brick, and you put it all together in one order, and voila, 3 days later comes your home. Easy, right? I was like planning on it, Danielle, and then I read this, and I'm like, mother effer, you had to F up Lego, and not just Lego, folks, not just Lego. I always remind people that who voted for Donald Trump? These young bros, these dudes who love Joe Rogan, Wellness Factory. They love their video games and they love their comedy. They love saying the R word and the F word. They love their PlayStation and their Nintendo Switch. Danielle, can you tell them what's been happening to the gaming industry?
Oh, well, the average effective U.S. tariff rate on video game consoles went from literally 0 before 2025 to 10.6% in June of 2025. It was double that as recently as April, when larger China tariffs were in effect. It just so happens, by the way, folks, that 10% on a $500 console would be $50. So now your video consoles are costing $50 plus more.
PlayStation gone up, Nintendo Switch gone up, and Danielle, I went and bought a game for my son, a Super Mario Jamboree for my kids. All the games themselves have gone up. So now to buy a game, I was like, holy crap, it's $70. It used to be like $50, $60. Now it's $70. All of that adds up, Danielle. When you're middle class at 53,000
for a family of 4.
And now you got to pay $60 more for a console and $20 more for a game. And you have to pay more for milk, and you have to pay more for groceries, and you have to pay more for gas. Daniel, what happens? What happens to the average Jose and Jane?
I mean, they're getting fucking, rammed is what I mean. It's what is happening. Like the dollar, like, let's just understand. We talked about this like 2 weeks ago when I was in Europe. The dollar not going as far as it used to. The dollar has been weakened over the last 8 months of this administration. Its comparables to the euro, right, and to the pound and to the is quite shit. Right?
It's gone down 11%, folks. Our currency has gone down. The worth has gone down 11%.
Of the dollar has gone down 11%, and the prices of everything are going up. So what does that signal to you? Right?
The world's greatest economy. You're welcome, Danielle. You're welcome. I didn't hear you. Thank you. I didn't hear a thank you.
I don't know it because my thank you is going to sound like fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Because the dollar, like we are all chitty bang bang right now trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. And the fact of the matter is that the price of everything is going up. The reach of your dollar is going all the way down. Where do you think that the economy is headed, Waj, by the end of this year? How do you think that the year is going to end out?
Look at all the graphs. Wait, can we go back real quick? Look at the numbers. So
down.
Where is that? Down. Everything is going. Speaking about going down, tell them about tourism. Okay. This just came out on CNN.
So now, right? And we have been following this because the trends are not just international, but are domestic as well. Tourism, small businesses, and international travelers, we're about to lose several $billion, like into the tens of billions of dollars. Why? Because no one wants to come here, right? And so this year, we are the only country out of 184 economies that are tracked by world tourism that is gone down. The only country that is
USA. USA. We already lost about $12 billion and they were projecting a total loss leading up to 2026 of about 40 to 50 billion. It might be more, because no one wants to come to a shithole country where the president and his base think that they're invaders, and no one wants to get arrested, and no one wants armed masked agents harassing their family. And they're like, yeah, I'll pass. And a story I said before on this show, but I'm not making this up, folks. All right. You all know my family's from Pakistan. I've been back many times. They're from Karachi, Pakistan. Karachi, folks, mega city, urban city. Karachi is wild. I say that out of love and also as an accurate description. All right. You go to Karachi, you got to survive Karachi. All right. It has immense challenges. My cousin, he's in his 40s. Born and raised in Karachi, did his business school here, and he was thinking about coming here just to visit, check out the town, see if he wants to move back. And so he told me a couple of months ago, he goes, hey man, I had booked a flight. I was about to book a flight to America, but it looks rough. I'm going to hold back in Karachi. When people in Karachi are looking at the United States of America and saying it looks rough, folks, I was like, damn, my cousin in Karachi feels safer in Karachi than coming to the United States of America, Danielle. That is not something that we should take lightly. Just wanted to throw that. There's some dark humor.
I mean, but it's facts, right? So we've talked about this before too, because we're talking about domestic travel as well. Vegas is one of the another bellwether, another canary in the coal mine when it comes to our economy, because that's where people book their work retreats and their conferences, and where you signal a lot of things because it's cheap to go there, and hotels, et cetera, et cetera. Tourism is down nationwide, not just Las Vegas, and it has zero to do with tariffs. The primary cause is debt. About 65% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and 40% have maxed out their credit cards. Not good. I don't know where these stats come from. I will say that we pulled this from X. So I would do some more research into that, but it sounds right in terms of the debt that Americans carry. And it's like, that is not a Las Vegas thing. This is a United States thing. Florida beach cities look like ghost towns. That's at
CNBC. CNBC said at the start of the year, 40% of cardholders in the U.S. have maxed out a credit card or come close to doing so, according to Bank Rate's October credit utilization from about 10 months ago.
Wow. And then you look at what's happening in Florida, right? Local businesses down 30%. Folks, those are COVID numbers. Do you understand? We talked about this with regard to DC and what's happening with the restaurants and small businesses in DC now that it is an occupied city. They are seeing COVID numbers in terms of like who isn't going out to eat, who isn't going out for entertainment. People, why would you be choosing to go to Florida of all states to go on holiday where you are wildly unwelcome if you're queer, if you are Black, if you are a Latino? Right? If you have what are you doing in Florida?
We have someone on Substack who said, Sam saying Canadian tourism to Vermont, where he is down over 20%. So it's the Canadian, the northeastern states have already been complaining about this for the past couple of months, or actually right the beginning of summer, that the tourism that they usually got from Canada way down. Now you see Florida being affected. You're seeing Texas going to be affected. Folks, everything touches dies, right? And the reason, let's talk about this one, immigration, and let's spend a little bit of time on this. Folks, all of this is because, let's be blunt, Trump and MAGA want America to be white again. Stephen Miller is dyed-in-the-wool white nationalist freak, a soldier for the cause, right? He says that the worst thing that ever happened to America in the 20th century was the Immigration Act of 1965 that allowed people like Daniel's parents and my parents to come to this country, right? The people that came to this country as a result of the INA were mostly Asians and Latinos. Many of them became doctors, became engineers, right? Worked their butt off, became successful, were entrepreneurs. All the data shows that immigrants are a net positive to the economy, commit fewer crimes, the native-born Americans, right? Help literally populate all these ghost towns. Elon Musk and MAGA are terrified about the birth rate, right? Guess who's keeping the birth rate slightly up there in the declining birth rate in America and in Europe? Want to take a guess? Immigrants. But they're brown and they're black. So you got to get rid of them. You have to get rid of all the immigrants and make America white again and bring back manufacturing and destroy global trade. Well, guess what? Message was spread and message was heard. Danielle, tell us what the immigrants are doing.
So immigration into the U.S. has collapsed, down more than 90% compared to recent years, equivalent to a slowing in labor force growth of more than 2 million people. So it's funny because, of course, on X, there are maggots that are in the comments section that are cheering this. Yeah, way to go, Trump. You're doing it. Yeah, you said you were going to get rid of immigrants and bring down immigration. And look at us go. Okay, dum-dums. Because what happens on top of that is that you lose an entire workforce. So remember, when we were talking about Springfield, Ohio, several months ago, actually a year ago, this time, when Springfield, Ohio gets into the news because JD Vance and Donald Trump are lying about the fact that the influx of Haitian immigrants, which transformed Ohio's economy that was rusting out from the inside out because they had jobs that nobody wanted to do, that when Biden passed his temporary protection visas for the Haitian population, folks packed up and they went to Ohio where there was work and turned around.
It was actually Bush. It was actually Bush.
Okay, sorry.
George W. It was the Bush administration. Yeah, George W. Bush administration that gave him the TP, and then these Haitians, as Danielle said, went there and literally, integrated. Were a boon to the economy, and we're happy.
Extended their TPS and added in more countries. So now you have this. Remember how Trump and JD Vance accused Haitians in Ohio of eating dogs and cats? Well, they are leaving Ohio. And now the Republican governor warns that suddenly losing a large number of workers could create a significant impact on Springfield's economy. You mean tank it.
Whoopsie.
So Governor Mike DeWine, a Republican, offered his own sobering assessment last month. The one word I use to describe Springfield today is stable, he said after meeting representatives from local businesses, medical centers, and religious organizations. But suddenly losing a large number of workers, he noted, would have a significant impact on Springfield and the region as businesses struggle to keep operating, and immigrant families who were once self-sufficient would require support. His conclusion was blunt. It's not going to be good.
I don't want to listen. Speaking about immigrants, speaking about Ohio, we were on that story, and I don't want to sugarcoat it. Donald Trump and JD Vance deliberately and intentionally promoted a debunked Nazi white supremacist conspiracy that they knew to be false. Who reported that they knew this was false? How they were informed that this was false, and yet they still persisted on promoting it because they realized their base thrives off of the racism. The Wall Street Journal reported that Trump and Vance knowingly promoted this white supremacist conspiracy about Haitians, which then led Nazis to march in Springfield, Ohio. And then black folks were like, F that. Then black folks started patrolling like old school Black Panthers folks. Go check out what was happening in Ohio. They're like, okay, we're going to stand out with guns and we're going to make sure our community is safe. And then the Nazis fled, right? And we kept saying, this is not going to end well. You need them Haitians. The Haitians will find a way. Immigrants always find a way. And look what happened to Springfield, Ohio. Look at its economy. Now, my dad came to this country in 1966 with his brother, thanks to the Immigration Nationality Act. They were both students. And as a result, because of the timing, because of the fact they had an education, they're like, aha, the Willy Wonka ticket. 1966, the timing is perfect. We're want to go to college. Hooray. People like us can actually go to America. So they went to America as students. And my dad, he traveled around, and right before he married my mom, he was actually in Dayton, Ohio, doing work at the Air Force, right? So my mom, when she came to America as a new bride, they landed in Dayton, Ohio. And then they moved from Dayton, Ohio, all the way to California, where I was born, and voila, the American dream. And here I am talking to Danielle. College students, foreign students, right? Just the poetry of it all, from Ohio to California, and now I'm here in the nation's capital. Danielle, you and I know that you need foreigners to come to this country, not just for tourism, not just for their brains, but also when they come to our universities that used to be number one, they pay full dollars. And when they pay full dollar because they don't get the loans, that subsidizes other American kids. Because when you got these other foreign students coming, they pay like $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year. Tell us about colleges.
Yeah, so they're fucked. It doesn't matter how much the Ivy League has decided to bend the knee to Donald Trump and to change their programming and fire teachers and arrest students and put them on watch lists and end DEI programs, et cetera, for all of the diversity, for all of the interest that people come to this country to study, to learn, to make friends, to build families. Well, colleges are now facing financial struggle because the enrollment is plummeting. One international student after another told the University of Central Missouri this summer that they couldn't get a visa, and many struggled to even land an interview for one. Even though demand was just as high as ever, half as many new international graduate students showed up for fall classes compared to last year. Half. The decline represents a hit to the bottom line for Central Missouri, a small public university that operates close to its margins with an endowment of only $65 million. International students typically account for nearly a quarter of its tuition revenue.
Wow.
We weren't able to subsidize domestic students as much when we have fewer international students who are bringing revenue to us. So, Mr. Art of the Deal, as to summarize, has tanked our fucking economy. The workers that would come here at all levels and all parts of our work spectrum are not coming here. Students are not coming here. Americans are in debt up to their eyeballs and can't afford to fill in the gap of those tourists and whomever that would come here to bolster business. So what does that spell? Oh, I don't know. Just an absolute fucking crackerjack job that Donald Trump and this regime is doing to bust up our fucking economy, to fire hundreds of thousands of workers from the federal government, right? To gut our schools, to gut manufacturing. I mean, like, you want a prize for how fast of a decline that you can usher in? That's what Donald Trump could get for a decline, could get for a prize. And
it reminds me, the example I gave was corporate raiders, these hedge funds who come in, right? Toys R Us, for example. Oh, we'll come around and we'll save you. And what they do is they don't save anything, right? Toys R Us is hollowed out from the inside. And these hedge fund and these millionaires, the shareholders, get all the money, just hauling it out. It's like that movie, There Will Be Blood, where Daniel Day-Lewis says, I drink your milkshake. And these are the oligarchy, and milkshake is America, and they're drinking all of our milkshake. Just literally like corporate raiders, raiding our pensions, raiding our healthcare system, raiding Medicaid, raiding Social Security, the prison industrial complex, right? Hollowing us out, folks, from within. Making us poor, making us sick, making us confused, making us literally die younger. Life expectancy in America, has it gone up? Gone down, folks. Check it out. We've lost 3 years. All of this is happening because of greed and white supremacy. And we've always said this on the show, and people think we're a little bit nutty. I want to give you an example. We can't find money, folks, for Medicaid. We can't find money for hospitals. We can't find money to help kids eat lunch. You know what this stupid ass administration found $250 million for? alligator Alcatraz, a friggin' concentration camp that is now going to be vacant.
Closed.
They literally burned nearly $250 million. They burned it. That money could have been... Danielle, you have $250 million. Where do you want to give that money to? Where do you want to give that money to?
I guess, if I'm the Trump regime, the sewer, right?
Yeah, well,
that's exactly where they put it. $250 million.
Maybe this, look, since I'm not a psychopath, give it to rural communities, invest $250 million in rural education. There you go. $200 million he wants to spend on ballroom renovation. At 250 to 200, you nearly have $500 million. $500 million to your base. Give them, I don't know, infrastructure. Can't do it, folks. The self-destructive aspect of white supremacy. But we want to end on some good news. Some good news. Danielle, there is a pushback. What happened yesterday?
So, a federal judge, with what a name, Sparkle Suknanen, temporarily blocks the Trump administration from repatriating any unaccompanied migrant child to Guatemala if they don't have a deportation order. Just hours after lawyers said hundreds of kids were slated to be sent there starting Tuesday. Kids with no relatives in the area, no adult supervision, just loading up hundreds of brown children and shipping them to Guatemala. Does anyone think that is batshit nuts and
it's
should
cruel.
be considered kidnapping, trafficking, etc.? So that is being halted, but will it be halted? Because, I'm not too old to remember when the judge said that you had to turn around the plane that took off for CCOT and that plane didn't turn around. So is this good news? Does it actually happen? I guess we will see. We will see.
We will see, folks. But, there are some good news. But speaking about the kids, it's probably better for them to leave America because measles has skyrocketed. And
I thought we were ending on good news.
Yeah, but I felt it was too poetic. I felt it was too poetic. Measles has skyrocketed, and not just measles. They're not just going after the COVID vaccine. They're going after the MMR vaccine. So measles, rubella, Gardasil, which literally saves a woman from cancer. They're going after all of that this week. Their weird eugenics fantasy about autistic people. They're all in on that, gutting the CDC, the National Institute of Health. We talked about it in an earlier show. So I hope we've made the case that we have to invoke the 25th Amendment, that Donald Trump is not fit to serve this country. Physically, he's not there. Mentally, he's not there. And the major reason why Maxine Waters said that is because he's destructive to the economy. As we've said on this show many times, this is the world's worst, I told you so, that this country will tolerate an insurrection. This country will tolerate kidnapping children and sending them to another country. This country will tolerate armed masked agents arresting pro-Palestinian students without due process. This country will tolerate, tax cuts to the rich. But at the end of the day, what this country won't tolerate is somebody harming their dollar. This country worships money. We worship money. The color green is the only color that trumps white in this country. And now that he's doing this to the economy, that's what Maxine Waters is saying. She goes, this man is making us economically unstable. So it's time for the 25th Amendment. I don't know. I thought it would be time for the 25th Amendment when he pardoned 1,600 insurrections, but I digress. Now it's time, folks. So we know it's not going to happen. You need 2/3 of both chambers. It doesn't matter. It's the right thing to say. And you should just put it out there. And just some chef's kiss that as Biden is still alive, maybe just say that. What about do the double standards, folks? It triggers. I'm telling you, I did a tweet. It went viral. People remember that. What about Donald Trump's health? Hey, Jake Tapper, anything and everything to weaken this man and weaken this regime. And yes, J.D. Vance will be terrible, but J.D. Vance doesn't have the chutzpah and the narrative and the hold on the cult that Donald Trump does. And if I make a small plug, we're running a bit late, but literally right now, after we get off, I have Gil Duran, the investigative journalist who runs Nerdreich, who's been covering the oligarchy. And Danielle, the timing is great. I'm going to ask him how Silicon Valley has groomed JD Vance to replace Donald Trump and what's next.
Love it. All right, folks. That is it for us here at Democracy-ish. We want to thank each and everybody that showed up for us today. I think that we are at 2,000 here on YouTube.
And about 1,200 on Substack.
1,200 on Substack. I want to thank Susan for her donation as always. Yay. Barb as always. Blue Lady. Susan again, Jimmy, PJ coming in with $100 for us today. Every dollar goes so far. Ernst as always, and Susan again. We could not thank you all enough. This is independent media. Every dollar that we get, every cent that we get goes towards our ability to create the kind of content that you all deserve. If you're watching us on Substack, do consider subscribing. Waj and I never put our content behind a paywall. And if you have a few bucks, consider becoming a paid subscriber to both the Left Hook, where Wajahat is, and the Damn Digest, where I am. Folks, we will be back on Substack on Wednesday for our midweek check-in to see what batshit crazy things happen between now and then. So make sure to follow us. Be well, be safe, and as always, as Waj says, don't
be a fascist. Thank you all for watching, and if you're still on Substack, jump on. I'm going to be talking to Gil Duran, and he's an expert journalist about the oligarchy and the Silicon Valley tech fascist bros. And who needs to rest on Labor Days? Not children of immigrants.
No, I'll be back at 5 p.m. Eastern with the Danielle Moody Show. Bye, friends.
Bye, Danielle. Bye, everyone.
Bye.